all been there. You just bought that hyped up story game everybody's raving about, you dim the lights, put on your headphones, ready to lose yourself completely, but 5 minutes later, you're stuck. The puzzle that you can't solve, the boss fight that seems somewhat rigged, the choice you swear that has no right answer. Yeah, we've all been there. Frustration completely takes over and you open up YouTube and you type walkthrough. And congrats, because you've officially ruined the game for yourself completely. But hold up, before you rage comment in the comment section, I did this for years, and honestly, every new game became ticking off puzzles and story beats as if they were some type of chores and doing them as efficiently as possible. Until one day I made a single decision, a surprisingly simple change that flipped everything upside down completely, and actually remembered why I fell in love with gaming in the first place. Today, I'm gonna share exactly what that change was and why it worked out for me so well. And trust me, once you see how easy it is, you'll never want to play games the same way ever again. Because, let's face it, if I'm being completely honest, I realized that I actually wasn't playing games for fun anymore, but rather efficiency and just making sure that my unfortunate, limited time is somewhat well spent. And I'm almost certain we all do this. I'm guilty, you're guilty, and trust me, I understand why. As I'm sure that in today's world, there could be a multitude of reasons for doing so. Personally, for me, becoming an adult and getting a job has definitely steered me away from having to sit at my screen for 30 minutes figuring out what am I supposed to actually do in this game, because let's be honest, sometimes it can be quite ridiculous. No matter what it was, I always wanted a way to speed up the process, whether it's finding a tutorial wherever I get somewhere stuck, or loading up the best loadouts for boss fights, or even looking up the locations of all the Spire bots in Spider-Man 2. I was essentially following a set of instructions like some sort of Lego set or IKEA furniture, to be honest. I knew what pieces to use, but I wasn't creating anything meaningful. It got so bad that I'd even watch other people on YouTube play it first before even touching the game entirely. And at that point, well, everything becomes pretty much dull. And the satisfaction of figuring something out completely on my own was basically non-existent. And if I'm being completely honest, I literally knew everything that happened in Spider-Man 2 before even touching it. Spider-Man dies but comes back to life because of Venom. Yep, knew that already. Miles and Mr. Negative team up to save Spider-Man. Yep, knew that too. Venom biting Kraven's head off and having a gruesome scene. Okay, pause. I knew that was happening, but damn, was I still shocked when I realized Insomniac actually had the balls to do something like that. I mean, god damn it, look at that. There was literally no individual experience. And the sad part was that I realized that I actually did this to myself. I genuinely thought that the more efficient and more walkthrough based way of playing games was more fun than the unknown. That was until I played a game without looking anything, and I mean absolutely anything, up. Oh boy, this is gonna be hard. Welcome to Hollow Knight. A beautiful hand-drawn game that at first appears to replicate a cute bug adventure until it repeatedly dropkicks your soul and reminds you of why your parents possibly don't love you. You play as a tiny silent warrior exploring the ruins of Hollow Nest, a once great insect kingdom that's now basically a haunted museum with spikes. There's no handholding, no map, and no mercy. You fight gorgeous yet terrifying bosses, get lost for hours, and question if the bugs are not the only ones losing their minds. It was overwhelming, but at the same time somehow weirdly peaceful. I chose Hollow Knight for this challenge for a multitude of reasons, with obviously some being the game's recognition as one of the most highly rated story games out there and receiving amazing community feedback, but what stood out more was the fact of Hollow Knight emphasizing the fact of being alone. It made sense to me when trying my level best to ensure I play a game completely in the dark, no walkthroughs, no trailers, no forums, no Reddit, just me and the game, that I choose a game that should also have an element of solo play, or in other words, complete loneliness. It also allowed me to feel the story more as it was solely focused on one character and all the trials and tribulations that said character had to overcome. I set my rules up to ensure that this was not going to be easy, and guess what? It was complete horror. I was getting my ass handed to me by absolutely every single boss, and sometimes I didn't even need to fight those bosses in the first place, but I went through anyway. I got lost for hours on end because of various red herrings and dark twisting maze tunnels, and obviously the zero map clarity when you first arrive in the game. From fighting simple boss fights, to meeting some friendlies on the way, to even experiencing a crazy plot twist of meeting a literally identical character that I thought was a friend following you in multiple passages that eventually turns into a horrendous monster looking like something taken out of the Devil's Diary itself. Every zone felt like its own nightmare. The Fog Canyon, the Royal Waterways, the Queen's Gardens, the Green Path. It was a consistent storyline of chaos that I realized I was playing for 5 hours straight. And that's no exaggeration, by the way. I started playing this game when the sun was up, and I realized that I was still playing even when my room was darker than the atmosphere in the game itself. I got so lost in the art of genuinely trying to play a game without help that I forgot my sense of timing. And that's something I haven't experienced in a long while. My whole entire experience, that for sure definitely took longer and quite possibly lost myself a couple of brain cells, but it felt authentic and, more importantly, more meaningful than any other game I'd recently played. And I realized that all I had to do was just sit, play, and pay attention. With a couple of other quick fixes. Now, knowing me, someone who's extremely lazy with an IQ probably lower than that of a goldfish, I knew that staying away completely from the internet and not searching up how-tos is gonna be quite close to impossible. Seeing as every other game I played, I at least at one point searched up a tutorial or trailer, or I'm sorry again, sometimes dare I even say it, an entire walkthrough. So to limit that as much as humanly possible, I set down a couple of ground rules to help me properly make this change. Firstly, I was not allowed at all to search anything up unless I was stuck for a whole 2 hours. Now, this may sound extreme to some people, and I'll be honest, it actually is, but it really forced me to struggle, experiment, and fail. Because the truth is, that tension is actually where the fun lives. And what felt like wasted time before turned out to be the most fun I'd had in years. Look, I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of hours to spare, but I learned that slowing down just a little gave me more in return than any other speedrun ever could. And by setting a 2-hour boundary that appeals to both sides of the same coin, giving you an ease up if you do realize you're wasting time, which, to be fair, in today's world can be very unpleasant, but still forces you to try and test the boundaries before looking for some help. Now, 2 hours for me with my time was a stretch, but if you believe that you can give yourself even more time, then go for it, and cheers to you for wanting to play a game truly how it was supposed to. And if you want to make it even harder, you can, like me, implement the next rule called the blind promise, which basically states to commit to playing your next story game completely, and I mean completely blind. And that means no YouTube, no Reddit, no walkthrough, no gameplay, no trailers, no nothing. I personally did this for Hollow Knight, as I only knew a little from what some of my friends as well as some of the community had to say of it. I had not seen any trailers of it and any proper gameplay or any story from the game before even touching it. I fully committed to ensure that I played this game with absolutely zero knowledge on it to get the most authentic experience I could. Now, this rule was a bit iffy, as we usually want to watch trailers and gameplays not to get a cheat code, but rather a feel of if this game is even worth buying or not, which is actually very fair. However, the point of this rule is to have faith that a brilliant game will deliver no matter if you see the trailer or not. Now, if for example you're not sure purely on the money aspect of it, I would consider watching a gameplay trailer to ensure you don't get spoiled as much as you would if you were to watch a release trailer diving into the story more. So if that's something for you, you can take that. But other than that, you must commit fully to a solo, non-efficient, relaxing, and enjoyable playthrough, which can be annoying for all my perfectionists out there trying to do things as efficiently as possible. And to all those people watching, my next rule is for you to embrace missing stuff. Remember, with no guide, no trailer, no nothing, you're not actually meant to see everything. That's what makes this world feel alive. Missing things isn't a failure. It's just your own version of the story. You're not trying to perfect it. You're just trying to have fun. I'm sure you yourself don't overanalyze everything when having fun with your friends. I mean, do you sit there comparing all the things you can do with your friends to optimize the fun that you'll have with them as much as possible? I don't think so. Because why should you? After all, you yourself know that hanging out with your friends is gonna be fun regardless. So why not try having the same energy for the game you just purchased? Be okay with not 100%ing exploration before even completing the game. Be okay with not having the most optimal gear for a boss fight. Be okay with realizing that you missed some perks and whatnot, because when you stop trying to optimize every moment, that's when you start remembering them. And what makes it not only unique, but extremely sentimental and meaningful to you as a person and you as a player. These are the tips and the rules that change the way I look at games completely. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't think I'll ever play games the way that I used to ever again. It's so addicting to play games without help and solely on my own now that I've kind of gone back to my roots of just getting lost in video games. And before a lot of you mention in the comments, I'm sure there are loads of people who do this on the regular, who never had this problem to begin with. But the video is not for them. Rather, it's for certain people like me, just to remind them that while the world out there forces you to be perfect and efficient, it doesn't mean you can't kick your feet up and just enjoy the life of playing story games the way that they're supposed to. Because honestly, man, it turns out not playing story games the way I used to was the best decision I ever made. It's the fun part of my life.